And we are live. We're going to be asking the question, is Biden being divisive? Or however, or better yet, is there any benefit to him seeking unity? Now, when we're talking about being divisive, he only targeted one group in particular, and that is the MAGA Republicans. He didn't say Republicans. He said over and over again, MAGA Republicans. Be the GOAT. Appreciate the compliment on this shirt. I had to get away, have a Hawaiian vacation of sorts, even if it's only in the mirror. So I appreciate the compliment of the apparel. It's late to be still wearing this shit, but nevertheless, it is what the closet threw at me this morning. So is there any benefit to President Biden being a commander-in-chief that's seeking unity? We're not talking about from the country as a whole. We're talking about MAGA. We're talking about the FJB crowd. You know what FJB means. You know what Let's Go Brandon translate to, which is FJB. Is there anything President Biden could say or do that would resonate with MAGA to the point of unity? Because make no mistake about it, that is who is criticizing the commander-in-chief. His speech the other day, the lights were down red, looking demonic, folks would suggest, with the Marines standing side by side. It's divisive. I get it. He's targeting MAGA. He said a hell of a lot of negative things about MAGA. But the comment, or better yet, the counterpoint is there anything he could actually do to bring on MAGA in terms of trying to unite with him? Or is it a waste of time? Look it in the comments. No, we don't want unity with the cult. Okay. Christine, welcome back to the program. He can fix this dump he created. Are we really living in a dump? Okay, in my area, fuel prices have went down substantially. They're not where they were when Biden took office. However, they're not to the point where people cannot drive anymore. A lot of the worst appears to be behind us. And when you talk to MAGA or Biden's detractors, they make it sound like shit hasn't improved at all. That's not true. If you want to point out the economy and the cost of goods and services, the price of gas at the pump is not doing well under Biden, that's a legitimate point. But if you want to pretend like it's still the way it was in May or June of this year, that's not true. Things have gotten better. You don't have to admit it, but people know. I mean, you can see what you're paying at the pump. Trump stole nuclear secrets, says For Reals. Well, here's the problem I have with some of this stuff. Folks, okay, right now in court, they're suggesting that now, Trump's lawyers are in court fighting on his behalf for suggesting that the documents that were in Trump's home may have not even been brought there by him. He didn't necessarily even know what was in his house. Now, 2 points. You ever seen shows like Live PD, Cops? They pull a guy over, they're patting him down, and a fucking crack rock falls out of his pants or something. That ain't mine. Why was it in your pants? It ain't mine. And if you test it, it's actually soap anyway, so it's not a crime. That's the type of shit we're dealing with. Whereas you got Trump suggesting, or better yet, his lawyers are fighting on behalf, stating that, well, maybe someone else put these documents in his home. But the day the documents are seized, Trump is out there suggesting that he declassified it all. Well, if you didn't know you had them, how could you know they're declassified? It's one of the craziest twists I can ever imagine. And at the end of the day, we got to ask ourselves, is Trump simply above the law? Is he really, truly a genuine Teflon Don? Because that's what it's starting to look like. Now he's just been appointed the right to get a master's or something. They're getting so deep in the weeds on this shit, you got to damn near have a law degree to interpret it. But now that they've been allowed to get a master's to figure out the documents that were seized or something like that. This stuff is way the hell above my legal scope of knowledge, and probably most of you guys as well. But while he has won this case, It's essentially halted his investigation. Now, Trump is obviously vying for a red wave and hoping that if you can get Republican Senate and Congress, then a lot of this shit will go away. Make no mistake about it, most of his opponents on the right side of the aisle have been exterminated. You got Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger hosting the January 6th hearings, but they're both done. Come January, Liz Cheney is no longer a member of Congress. You think her replacement, Trump deniers, are going to follow that shit up? No. And that's the goal, is to stall this event, stall these cases until you can get more friendly folks in Washington. And then it'll go away. Because folks always talk about, I'll go to the box in a minute, but folks always talk about the Russian collusion delusion and shit like that. And it shows they had nothing on them. Well, I'm not here to suggest if Trump was guilty or not, but I will tell you this. Having friends in the Senate certainly helped out. Folks who are not even answering subpoenas and shit like that certainly made it so that if there was something to the Russian incident, it wasn't properly investigated because you had friends on your side stifling the investigation, and that's what we're hoping for now. All right, going to the box. Rainy, good afternoon to you. What do you think? Is this man above the law? You think anything's going to come out of any of these cases?
I think we're about to be proven that he is above the law. And I'm thinking as well, because you know what I just learned? Nothing in our Constitution prevents him from running from election, even from prison. He could literally run from jail and his people would elect him. That's how fucked up our system is. Like, we are not prepared for this mentally, you guys. Like, we got to understand Donald Trump is pushing every sort of norms that we've ever had. And he is turning everything upside down. When they said burn down the system, that's exactly what he's doing. And he is burning this shit down.
Well, and that's what Adam Kinzinger on one of the Sunday shows a few weeks back stated, that after the January, he was talking about in regards to the January 6th hearings. This Merrick Garland stuff hadn't even taken place yet. But he was suggesting that after the January 6th hearings, most likely there are going to be laws passed for future presidents to not do what Trump did. In other words, a lot of the way we viewed the president was based on the honor system, and we never thought we would ever see the day you would have a president, as you say, push the envelope and do all of these things that Trump is doing, up to including pardoning himself possibly and telling folks to not answer subpoenas and shit like that when he's being impeached. Certain things that should be illegal. Like, as a president,
We
it
would
should be
think because we would think we just never had a criminal as a president before.
exactly.
We've never had this. Is the first time in our history that we've had an actual thug.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that he's probably going to have law. We're probably going to have to end up passing laws that a future president, certainly when it comes to pardoning yourself, regardless if you think Trump is guilty or you think Trump is the man and they're just railroading him. Everyone would have to agree that when a president is being investigated, or if he, God forbid, is found guilty of anything and convicted, no president should be able to pardon himself. Is there anyone that thinks a president should be able to pardon his own damn self? So I suppose they don't have an official law preventing that.
Well, not just that. Think about, even if you look about the corruptness in our judges. The judge that gave him a special masters. Even when the Department of Justice is saying this is a national security issue, even her saying you need to stop the investigation. That's a corrupt judge. You know, the only way we could get rid of corrupt judges is with the consent of the Congress. The consent of the Congress will require the Republicans. These motherfuckers are so corrupt too. They won't even do that. So
Yeah.
now we are really in for a rude awakening. And I swear, if people don't wake up and see what's really going on, this man has totally turned this country on the upside down. And I laugh when they say drain the swamp. What swamp is being drained? I mean, he is
Never.
the swamp.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
I will say this
I know
though.
you got callers.
You know how it works, but I will say this though. I'm not in the camp yet that the judge who allowed him to appoint a master's, I'm not so quick to call her corrupt or anything like that, because let's be clear, if she had denied his request, the Republicans would have called her corrupt. The Supreme Court, for instance, three, what is it, 2/3 of them were appointed by Trump, refused to listen to his case that the election was stolen. So I don't want to get into the idea that any judge that you appoint that rules in your favor is corrupt. I mean, she may have truly thought this, because as I just pointed out, there were judges, a lot of them, that he appointed that ruled against him when he claimed election fraud. So you got
I
to
don't
get a
know.
judge
Like
the
I
benefit
said,
of the
he's
doubt.
the one who enhanced the whole presidential records, and he enhanced that and made it a felony to
Yeah,
steal government records. He stole government records, refused to give them back, and now we're supposed to what? Not arrest you? You made it a felony. You
yeah,
yourself made that a felony.
yeah.
But now when you're being caught, we're all supposed to turn the other cheek, and oh, it's just a storage problem, as Marco Rubio says, right? Anyway. I
He,
feel like everybody needs to wake up. He's a criminal. We all know it, but he's not going to jail. We all need to know that too.
What about being punished in any sort of way? What about simply being prevented from running for office? I mean, you don't think do you think he might not be punished in
I
any sort of
I
way
think
in
he is
all of these
such
cases?
I think he is such a gangster. I think even if the government told him, here's the plea deal we're gonna give you, he would go out and broadcast that to his fucking
Yeah,
supporters and
yeah.
and make it where he's a victim. And see, they just want me out of here. That he would make it so it's a lose-lose. We are just living like the people in these third world countries are living, where the judges are corrupt, the Congress is corrupt, the police are corrupt, the president is corrupt, all types, everybody's corrupt, and we have no recourse from it. It's a sad
I
reality.
agree
People
that,
better
yeah,
wake up.
I totally agree that regardless of what ends up happening with any of these investigations, he's going to talk about it all over the place and try to make himself a victim. But okay, Rainey, do
Thank you, darling.
appreciate you
Talk
coming
to you
through. I
soon.
would absolutely good talk. Okay, looking in the comments quick. Now all of a sudden he's a criminal. Stop. I listen. If anyone, and I haven't referred to Trump as a criminal, but I will. I understand my caller did, but I will say this to you: if anyone was being charged with crimes over and over again like Trump is, the first inclination would not be to think that they're being railroaded. You would think they're getting away with shit. When Al Capone was constantly being charged with crimes, I don't think people thought he was being railroaded. Same thing with what is his name? John Gotti. I don't think people thought he was being railroaded. No, your ass is doing shit and finding a way to escape it. You think? I mean, O.J. Simpson escaped. You think he's innocent? No, I don't think that people would be putting their entire careers on the line going after President Trump unless they thought they could actually make the shot. They're obviously failing. A lot of them are losing their jobs in the process, but make no mistake about it. When you take a shot at a president or someone of that level, if that shot does not succeed, you're going to be at risk of losing your entire career. If Merrick Garland fails, how long is Merrick Garland going to have a job? I mean, you see what happened to Liz Cheney. They haven't succeeded or failed yet, but her job is already gone. So I don't believe these people are just throwing their whole careers and shit away to railroad them, to try to railroad this guy when it's costing them the ultimate sacrifice of their own shit. Just think about how many politicians, and I'll go back to the box, but think about how many politicians have had their whole careers terminated simply for speaking afoul of Trump. Jeb Bush, Liz Cheney, everybody, you guys are gunning for Mitch McConnell, which to me seems outrageous. You guys want Mitt Romney gone. You know, there's a hell of a lot. And I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about all these are Republicans. I mean, John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton is gone. Generals and shit like that you guys don't like. People having to retire and fall out every damn where. So the last thing that makes sense, at least to your humble correspondent, yours truly, is that someone would try to railroad the president on some bullshit. Because you know what's going to happen if it fails. All right, modern colonizer. What do you think? You think they're actually taking swings at Trump and they have nothing, baseless information?
I didn't catch the first part of that.
Sure. No, I'm asking, do you think that all of these people, prominent individuals, prominent judges, politicians, are just willing to risk their careers to take a swing at Trump based on nothing?
Yes, because just so I didn't agree with everything your last caller just said, but like when she talked about just everybody's corrupt, the entire system is corrupt.
Yeah.
What I agree with her on that, and what I think there's a little bit of is they start out saying, "Hey, look, let's prosecute this guy," and then they go, "Wait a second, if we put this stuff on the book, we can be prosecuted too. Let's kind of chill out." Because right now, all these people that you're saying, are they willing to do this? They want to stay in that club. They want to
Well,
stay.
wait a minute.
They want to stay
Let me
in
ask
the
you.
elite club.
Well, let's take into consideration what you just said. You said they say let's prosecute this guy, but then they say let's wait a minute because we want to stay in this elite club. So when they originally thought,
no. What I'm saying, when you say how do these Republicans that Trump appointed testify against him, they want to keep their seat at the dinner table. Okay. When I make the distinction of the other people who are like, hey, let's prosecute Trump, let's just say Biden, for example, right? They go, dang it, wait a second. If we can tear this guy apart, the next guy can tear us apart.
So are you suggesting that Liz Cheney no longer wanted to keep her seat at the dinner table?
No, that's what she's doing, is trying to keep her seat in the elite club. You know, the Democrats and Republicans, like I say all the time, they go to the same damn barbecues together, right? And
right.
As long as you're against Trump, you're going to stay in that club. Now, it ain't looking great for her right now. Oh, big deal, you lost a Congress seat in Wyoming. Oh, that's going to just totally ruin my day. You know what I mean? Like,
wait a minute. I think it goes further than that. I don't think Liz Cheney's worst problems is losing a Congress seat in Wyoming. I think the issue is her whole name has been destroyed. Just like John McCain or the Bush family or the Reagan family. It ain't the seat you've lost. Jeb Bush's entire political career has been destroyed because of Trump. So it ain't like he could have been governor of Florida and now try to take Marco Rubio's position or something like that. No, the Republicans have ousted him out of the entire party. Same thing with Liz Cheney. She can't try to run as a senator for Wyoming or as another office. They're not going to vote for her for anything.
Right. And that's not the hill I wanted to die on today.
Okay.
The one I wanted to talk about is, I respect you, man, and I like your show.
Appreciate that.
But the thing is, man, when you were talking about Trump pardoning himself, people vote based on 5-second sound bites. Even when you said it, I was like, dang, did that happen? Because that would be weird, right? So I Googled it. Google search, did Trump pardon himself? New York Times.
I didn't say he pardoned himself.
What I'm saying, it's the same thing that's going on in the media right now with all this Trump bashing, is people hear a snippet and then they take it as truth.
Okay. Well, let me be clear. I did not say Trump pardoned himself. I said he tried to investigate whether he could legally do that or not. And what I'm suggesting is it should be an instant no. As president, you should not be able to pardon yourself if you're involved in corruption. If you know you can pardon yourself, then you are literally above committing a federal crime. You cannot be prosecuted for it. So what I was suggesting is that should not even be on the table for any politician to be able to pardon their own self.
Oh, I would agree with that statement, but you can't bash someone for saying, what can I do? I mean, when you do your taxes, do you go, can I write off my dog's vet bills? I mean, you shouldn't be able to if it's just a dog, right? But if I'm over here Googling, is my dog a security guard for the shop? Is she shop property now, right? Like, can I write this off? You can't knock someone for looking to see what's on the books.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna put writing off your dog's vet bill in the same category as pardoning yourself for federal crimes, because I mean that allows him to be able to get away with some pretty big shit. If a person can, I mean, literally any federal crime. I mean, you could just walk into Fort Knox and walk out with all the damn money. I mean, what can you do? It's a federal crime, and I can pardon myself. That should be as clear as anything else in the Constitution. The president shall not be able to pardon himself for an investigation for which he is the target. That should be as clear as day, and unfortunately is not, which is what Adam Kinzinger said in regards to the January 6 hearings, is that we're going to have to pass laws to prevent guys like Trump in the future from doing some of that stuff, because they never expected a guy to take stuff to the level he's done it.
Right, I would agree, and go as far as making another constitutional amendment. I would agree with that premise. My only grievance is that most of America is too simple. They just believe anything they hear. I mean, listen to TikTok. If somebody says something, it becomes a talking point for a couple of weeks, and you're like, why do I all of a sudden hear this new talking point for a couple of weeks? You know, it's because people just believe whatever they hear, man, and that's all I wanted to bring up with you, man. You know, I respect you.
And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. Fake news travels fast. I totally don't. I don't disagree with that at all.
And
All right,
the
go
last
ahead.
thing I want to say, if you don't mind, is just, you know, what I've always talked about. You know, they started impeaching him while he was taking the oath. You know, when you look at all of the bashing and you go, how can I believe any of it when nothing has come to fruition? Nothing has come to fruition.
Yeah, but
Now, does that mean he's above the law? I don't know. I don't think he should be. But when nothing has stuck, when he truly is Teflon, you have to go, man, you've been after this guy for almost 6 years now and have gotten nothing to stick. That looks bad.
yeah, but here's the problem I have with that. If they were going after Mother Teresa or someone like that, it'd make more sense. But Trump himself has said a hell of a lot of things that don't stick as well. And we don't hold, like, for instance, people often bring up Trump was being attacked from day one, but they don't hold him accountable for all the attacks that he launched on the previous president, including suggesting he's sending investigators to Kenya, and quote unquote, you would be amazed at what they're finding out. They found out nothing. They didn't find out any damn thing. And his supporters did not hold him accountable for shit like that. But make no mistake about it, it's doing stuff like that that led to him having problems from day one. The moment Trump was inaugurated, he already had been involved in dozens of beefs with other politicians. So you didn't expect him to just take office and have a peaceful time, did you?
Well, and you always retort with that. And while I agree to an extent, his bashing of Obama didn't divide the country. His bashing of Obama was not illegal. His bashing of Obama did not step on the Constitution the way it's happening right now. They are literally using the same tactics that the funny mustache guy did back in the 30s, right? Of crushing political opposition by any means necessary. Now, if you put this guy in handcuffs and you have an actual charge and you send his ass to jail, I will tip my hat and say, okay, fine. We voted for a douche, right? But when nothing has stuck and all you see is bashing, it's the same as, let's just say, you know, somebody has not SA'd somebody, but you want to destroy their career, so you're just going to accuse them of it. That you already know the charge doesn't have to stick for that person's life to be destroyed, right? It's the same thing right here. They don't even have to get it to stick. They just have to crush their political opposition. That's what's going on here in my eyes until I see a jumpsuit.
Okay. All right. You may never see that. I would submit to you this, that we're at a point now where even if the federal government or some state government could present factual evidence of Trump's wrongdoing, the overwhelming majority of MAGA wouldn't believe it. They would just simply say the news you're presenting is fake. So, and I've asked this on the program before to several people. The question I often ask is, if you believe the FBI is corrupt, you believe the intelligence agencies are corrupt, and you believe the January 6th, the Republicans on the January 6th hearing, if you believe all of these people are corrupt, for shits and giggles, let's say Trump actually did something wrong. Who could tell you and have you actually believe it? And the answer is a unanimous no one. For MAGA, there is no one. If Trump actually did something wrong, there is no one that could tell them, media or anyone, that they would say, okay, yeah, I believe you now. So he's always going to be innocent if you have that type of viewpoint, right?
I agree with you. I mean, I've used that example in many other cases where there's nothing that can be presented to change most people's minds. I don't believe people you were that simple. I think if we're provided with a new piece of evidence that shows we had the wrong idea about something or the wrong opinion, we are able to change Most of the country isn't.
I can't see that. All right, man, I gotta move it on, but we gotta differ on that. I don't think any evidence they present would be it would be a deep fake or something. I don't care if it's video evidence of him doing something. It would be a deep fake or something like that. I mean, just like you got audio evidence of him admitting he was grabbing women, and that instantly became locker room talk. Nothing about it was true. You got audio evidence of the guy admitting it. Well, it was locker room talk. So I can't imagine it. I just can't. But appreciate you coming through, man.
Hey, the only pass I give him on that is I wouldn't want my mom hearing most of the stuff I talk about with my boys either. So,
okay, fair enough. You too. And I will say this, true enough, we've all said some shit we probably wouldn't want our parents to hear. I totally agree with that. The only reason I view Trump's stuff differently is because I personally believe, your humble correspondent, if you are a billionaire several times over, Trump's indicated that he's worth 10 billion or something like that. I'm going to say this in as clear and precise of a way as I can. If you're worth $10 billion, you do not need to lie on your dick. If you say you've banged 200 women and being worth $200 billion or $10 billion or whatever, you've banged 200 women. Every single story you tell me in regards to women, I'm going to believe it if you're worth $10 billion. You don't need to make shit up and lie on your dick when you're worth $10 billion. Who does that? What guy worth $10 billion has to make up shit? You got your own TV show. You got gold fucking toilets in the crib. And you're going to make up lies on your dick? And we actually believe that. You could take the ugliest dude imaginable and you give him $10 billion and he could make all of Trump's stories facts. But yet, we don't believe that. Whatever happened to we voted for him because he tell it like it is? He calls it as he sees it. But the minute he admits some shit like that is suddenly not true, going back to the box. Bionic Man Keith, do not lie on my program. Bionic Man, friend of the program, good afternoon.
I think that they're both delusional. You know that I'm an independent. Both sides are looking at it through the same glasses. It's like you had the Democrats all looking at Hillary going, no, she did nothing wrong, flushing 33,000 emails.
Wait a minute. I don't believe the Bernie Sanders supporters are looking at Hillary Clinton like that. They did not like her. A lot of them didn't even vote for her.
Well, Bernie Sanders voters, yeah. But they didn't like Trump either. Yeah, it's not like they were Trump supporters.
All right, fair enough. Okay, all right, keep going.
And now it's like the shoe is on the other foot. Like they're ready to hang Trump just the way that the Trump supporters were ready to hang Hillary. They're all looking through these glasses. They got blinders on. It's like, as an independent, I'm looking at them and I'm just going, they're all guilty. Every single one of them. It's like, if you think that Trump is going to do time in jail, you're delusional.
Right.
He's not going to do time.
I agree with that.
These people are above the law. It's like Hunter is not going to do time in jail. Come on.
Not a day.
It's like
not a day.
He did shit wrong. It's like in that shit where he was talking about the big guy and everything, talking about his dad and doing like corrupt shit, whether it was with Ukraine or China or whatever. It's like, it's like all of this shit. It's like Pelosi's husband. Pelosi's husband is not going to go to jail for a couple months because he was drunk driving.
Pelosi's husband was charged with a DUI. Does he have a history of DUIs?
But what is he going to get? He's going to get a fine. Big deal. You're worth $100 million.
Here's the difference, though. When you talk about Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, President Trump, I can understand the argument that they appear to be above the law. What we're suggesting that is going to happen to Nancy Pelosi's husband, regular individuals get DUIs and get off of fines. That's nothing that special. Any wealthy person or even upper middle class person can hire a lawyer and walk away from a DUI with a fine. What Nancy Pelosi's husband did probably should not even be in the conversation. It's not like he ran over a bunch of people. He got a DUI. People, I used to drive Uber for a while. I picked up DUI people all the time that didn't even have money, and they didn't serve time in jail. So I don't think Nancy Pelosi's husband is that big of a deal.
Do you think he's going to have a breathalyzer like hooked up to the car? Probably not.
I don't think every DUI everybody that's convicted of DUI even gets that. I mean, that's not that big of a huge deal. I think, like I said, if you're making decent money and you can hire a decent lawyer, you can obtain what Nancy Pelosi's husband is getting. That's not that huge. What's happening to him? He's not walking away that much.
That all of these pricks are above the law, and it has to deal with money and power, and these judges. And it's like all of these people are in a separate category than you and I. If you and I do something wrong, it's like we are in a separate category. And they are not. They are all like, it doesn't matter whether it's mayors going all the way up the food chain. It's like, I worked for the school department, and I seen like a superintendent of schools who was embezzling money, and she didn't even get kicked out of her job, and it got proven. It's like these people are above it. It drives me crazy. And you look at the Democrats and the Republicans, and it's like, and it's our fault. That's the problem. It's our fault.
I guess you have to look at it this way. If you're making millions in the private sector, which Trump could do, Pelosi could do, Biden, all of these folks will make millions of dollars in the private sector. If I'm going to take a government job where I get paid a couple $100,000 a year, money that could be thrown away like Trump didn't even take a salary or whatever, I got to get some perks out of this shit. I mean, you really want me to do time? You want my husband to do time for fucking DUI? I mean, I get your point. They should not be above the law. But we cannot make this like working at Walmart somewhere where nobody's going to want to do the job at all. These people are at risk of being assassinated. So I'm not going to get any perks at all. I'm only going to get paid this little bit of money. And you want me to do this shit? And then you don't even want me to be able to do it for life. You want to have term limits? You can make the position so undesirable that you don't get nothing but fruitcakes applying for it.
Yeah, but what do they get? They do a term, and then they get a lifetime pension and lifetime medical.
These people are making millions of dollars in the private sector. That lifetime shit you're talking about these people would make a lot. You could go work for a corporation and walk away with a golden parachute that would be 10 times more than what they're getting from Congress.
Yeah, but what are they also getting? It's like they're getting kickbacks because they'll be on boards for, as a representative, and they're getting money for that shit too.
I agree that it's corrupt as hell. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you made it completely fair and non-corrupt, the best and brightest would probably never apply for that job. We are in a capitalist country. Nobody wants socialism. We want capitalism. In a capitalist country, what's the most important thing? The bottom line. If you make that job where you take away almost all of the financial perks, the true businessmen and capitalists ain't gonna want that position. There's nothing in it for them. You're turning it into a regular city councilman type job with a minimum pay. You can't do it more than 8 years or 10 years. You can't become a million. They're not gonna want that shit. You're taking all the perks out of it.
I just look at these politicians. Like I watched Biden's speech the other day, right? Right. And you got to go back 60 years. Like what happened to the speeches of JFK and MLK, right? That lifted up people's spirits. Like
I
he
think
bashed.
you didn't hear a single speech from Obama that lifted spirits.
I did. When he did his first term and he became president for the first time, he lifted America when he first went into office.
Okay.
But it
When he
went
came out,
downhill in his
when
second
he
term.
came, when Obama came out and said, "On my orders, they killed Bin Laden," or when George Bush was standing on the rubble of the World Trade Center and said, "I hear you. These people hear you, and the folks who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us." So you don't remember any of these speeches like that that really was like, hell yeah. I think they
When the
gave some
Senate, right.
inspirational.
But it has to do with tragedies or something like that.
Yeah.
When the Senate, you remember when the Senate was holding hands together when we were attacked and they were on the steps. Do you remember that? And they
Yeah.
were all interlocking hands. It's like
Yeah.
when we have those moments are few and far between. It's like it's a constant bashing. And it's like, and I hate to say this, but Trump, you know that I don't like Trump. I think
Right.
his attitude of like the little hands or bashing people's wives and all of that bullshit,
Yeah.
it's like, stop doing that crap. But the Democrats, they do it to the people. Like he did it to individuals. You have Hillary who did it to the deplorables, or you have Biden like doing it to like the masses. It's like,
Well, you don't think saying Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group is not doing the same thing? Rapists and murderers, Hispanics, Hispanic illegal immigrants are rapists and murderers. I want a total and complete ban of all Muslims entering the country. You don't think he's doing the same thing?
well, I give you that.
Okay. All right. All right. Well,
But
I
he's
do
not,
agree
but
with you.
he's doing that to like somebody overseas, not to the people that are voters within the United States.
I mean, we're picking and choosing who is okay to attack, which innocent group of, because they're all innocent. We're picking and choosing. Well, you can attack innocent people as long as they don't have U.S. citizenship. I mean, being morally wrong is morally wrong. You don't get a pass because a person is not a citizen. A total and complete ban of all Muslims entering the country. So a
Well, I'm
regular
not saying what
Muslim.
he said was right. Like I said, everything that comes out of his mouth, all of these tweets at 2 a.m. in the morning, like he's like a 12-year-old acting like a moron.
Right.
And it's like the other day you had on there, is Trump going to return in 2024?
Right.
Yeah, I think that Trump is going to return no matter what in 2024, but it might not be Donald.
Explain that.
I could see that if something happened to him where he was not able to run, I could see Ivanka stepping into his shoes. You're going to make a martyr out of him. That's all you're going to do.
Let me say this. Even though I'm just like you, my name should make it clear I'm not a huge Trump fan, but I will say this to you. I don't think Trump could be replaced by anyone that would probably anger the liberals as much. Ron DeSantis, Ivanka, even Don Jr. Trump is in that position because he is a very unique character. And I've said this before, that unlike the Republican or Democrat Party, MAGA is not based on principles, it's based on a human being. Whereas if Trump says, let's be friends with Kim Jong-un and try to make things work, they're good with that. If he says tomorrow, I had to bomb him. I had to bomb him. He was bad for the United States. They would be okay with that. So they don't necessarily have a principle. It's whatever Trump says, that's what we're going to. So I don't think if something happened to Trump, I don't think Ivanka would get that same type of appeal, because Trump is a very unique character. I give you the last word, though, man. I got to move it on.
Then who are they going to vote for? If you have the power to get somebody like Liz Cheney out, then you have the power to keep on voting for Ivanka. And the MAGA is going to vote for whoever Trump tells them to vote for.
He has
that power.
I'm fine with that, but keep in mind, Ivanka was also on the January 6th hearing saying that she believed Jim Barr that the election was stolen. So I don't mind a Republican that is open-minded. I mean, if she wins, she wins. That's what Joe Biden was talking about, is that I don't have a problem with traditional Republicans. He was attacking MAGA Republicans, but I get it. I got to move on, man.
Yep, they're all guilty. Last one of them.
Good talk, Bionic Man.
So,
and if they are guilty, Michelle remain. And I agree with the gentleman. I agree with Bionic Man. None of these people are going to jail. People at this level do not get incarcerated. And that includes Hunter Biden and Hillary Clinton and President Trump, of course. A good example on Hillary Clinton, I'll go right back to the box. I won't bloviate too long, but a good example on Hillary Clinton is you got Trump debating with her, literally whispering in her ear that if you win, you're going to be in jail if I win. Obviously, he won. What the hell happened? Hillary Clinton wasn't even investigated for anything during Trump's 4 years in office. So here is a person that is making it clear. If they become president of the United States, you will be locked up and put in jail. The person actually wins and becomes president, and you're not even merely investigated for a crime. That shows that there was zero chance of Hillary Clinton ever going to jail. Yet you're allowing your supporters at every single rally across the United States to yell, lock her up. You're pausing and smirking while they feel very happy yelling, lock her up, thinking you, the guy who's listening to the crowd, is going to give them their wish. And you know you're not going to do a damn thing about locking this woman up. And the same thing applies to Hunter Biden and Donald Trump as well. They're not going to get locked up either. The pick, what does that say? The pick as live? I don't get the name there. But let's go to the afternoon. I think you're a new caller. I don't think we've ever talked before, have we, sir?
No, we haven't. How are you?
Okay. I'm doing good. What's on your mind this afternoon?
I've listened to you before. I like your show. I started listening about, 20 minutes ago, and I had one thing to say, and now I have like 30 things to say based on your conversations.
Let's start with number one. Let's see if we can work. Give me your first one.
I think the main thing about what you were just saying about above, the last guy was saying, and you're kind of saying about above the law, technically, legally, no one's above the law, but in reality or in practice, a lot of these people are in a way above the law. And the problem with Trump, even versus Hillary and the documents stuff, is when you're president, you just have all of these powers that no one else has. And I talk to constitutional scholars about this sometimes, and they say it's not just that the president. It's not that the president is above the law, but in many senses, he is the law. He is in charge of the executive branch, which is in charge of executing the laws in the United States. He's the one that decides everything. Merrick Garland reports to him. So he is the law in some senses, but that doesn't mean he can't break the law himself. And but that is the challenge anyone has in convicting a president or even an ex-president, is that things he did while president, he could do. And the president has wide discretion in the classification and declassification and access to documents. And that's part of the problem with the whole document thing that I think a lot of Democrats don't see.
Yeah, let me get your personal opinion. In regards to the documents, do you think that this man actually deliberately brought home classified documents, or do you think this is just, once again, another witch hunt?
Oh, no, I think he did. I mean, he didn't personally box them up. I can't see him ever doing anything like that himself. But his team, while he was president, boxed up and loaded up in a truck or somewhere a bunch of documents he shouldn't have been taking. But he did have the authorization as president to take them, unfortunately. As far as I can tell from the law, he had that authorization.
But if the documents were declassified, shouldn't there be a clear record of that?
Yeah, there should, but we've never tested this stuff before, and that's something else one of your other callers said. We never expected a president, basically a criminal grifter, to become president, and so we're testing all these things that have never been tested, and that's why we don't know the answers. Liberals and even conservatives were scrambling during his entire presidency to try to find something to nail him on. And one example of that was like the emoluments clause, where you can't have foreign gifts coming into you as president and stuff like that. And people trying to say his hotel qualified that way because, people like from Saudi Arabia would stay at his hotel and spend $20,000 on a weekend. And that's basically paying
Yeah.
off the president for favor, all that stuff. I mean, it's just never been tested. And pretty much most constitutional scholars think that there would be no case for that. It would be dismissed before it even got to the Supreme Court. And it's just like these things haven't been tested. And I really think what I think we really need after Trump is gone, whether he dies eventually or we go on to someone else that's less extreme like DeSantis, is that we need to really focus on getting a constitutional amendment about some of these limits that Trump tested and
Yeah.
revealed,
And that's
the weaknesses we revealed.
Yeah, that's what Adam
Yeah.
Kinzinger said. Adam Kinzinger said that this was before the Merrick Garland document stuff came up. He said that, Adam Kinzinger, that we're going to have to pass laws that limit that actually expressly say what a president can and cannot do. Because as you're pointing out, and as I pointed out, and so did Adam Kinzinger, that this guy is willing to go to corners of the envelope that we never thought a president could do. Like you're talking about, having dignitaries stay at his properties and things like that to make money. Even with the emoluments clause out there, he's pushing it to see what he can do. So
Right.
you just assume that any president would be moral enough to just step away from this stuff. And he's showing, no, if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I wanted to comment on too, from one of your, I think it was 2 callers ago, just talked about how Trump's so-called investigation into Obama's background and stuff, which was not just Trump, it was everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of Republicans, a lot of people on the right questioning his authenticity because he's the first black man, first man of color to be in the White House.
But are you suggesting it was racial?
Yes, I am. And,
okay.
And what the guy said, though, is that wasn't divisive. And that's just, to me, colors the whole thing that we hear now from the right, is how divisive Biden is being, how divisive the Democratic Party is. They don't seem to really understand that when Obama took office, that's when the divisiveness began. And it was just so outrageous to most people on the left, white or black, that this stuff was going down. And the stuff you pointed about Trump, sending people to Hawaii, you wouldn't believe what they're finding. He didn't send anyone to Hawaii, let alone were they finding anything out.
Kenya. He sent people. He got on Bill O'Reilly and told Bill O'Reilly that he's like my people. Yeah. I got people over there. And he said you'll be amazed at what they're finding out. And nobody ever questioned him. Well, what did your people find out? He didn't have to say anything. That was good enough.
And then once he was finally, either after he was elected or right before he was elected on his first term, he basically was more or less forced to admit on a live stage that, yes, Barack Obama is born in the United States, is a United States citizen. I mean, it's just like that, but that's when the divisiveness started for us. And and to say that suddenly Biden or suddenly the Democrats are the divisive ones, it's just complete lack of self-awareness, a complete lack of awareness of what the other side already felt for years. And I just wish that, sometimes the Democrats are guilty of it too. They don't consider the perspective of this other side. They may disagree with it, but they have to understand what the perspective is to really get an understanding of how we will ever bridge any kind of divide.
Yeah. And I don't know what hope there is for that at this point, because certainly, obviously MAGA admits that, even folks who are true supporters of Trump admit that, no, he's not seeking unity. And now you got Biden giving a pretty divisive speech. But the question I would ask is, when you got people saying, let's go, Brandon, FJB, we know what those acronyms stand for, and even flags in front of their house saying F you if you voted for Biden. Right. Why would you of those people criticize Biden for not seeking unity? If you're saying F Biden, do you really want to unite with him?
Yeah, that reminds me of a cartoon I just saw the other day. It's like at the top, it's like a MAGA logo on the left, and it's basically F you, 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 like a whole bunch of people yelling F you, F you, and then Biden's in the middle, and Biden says F you back. And then at the bottom, everybody says, "Oh, I can't believe you said that. How divisive," and all this stuff. That's what they just don't see. I was just in Seaside, Oregon a few weeks ago. I live in Portland, and it's a family town, family vacation, beach community, kids running everywhere. And I see in this restaurant, and there's this guy, middle-aged guy, walking right through the middle with a huge shirt that said "Fuck Biden," big giant letters. And I'm just thinking, and they think that Biden being giving a speech is the divisive part. It's just complete lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, and all of that shit is sold at every Trump rally you go to. But I gotta move it on, man.
All right,
Hey,
thank you.
anytime, you're always welcome back. Good talk, first time, appreciated it. Come on back through.
Will do.
Absolutely. All right, looking in the comment, and that's all I'm saying, folks, is that to criticize Biden for not being a president that's seeking unity, and I will agree, his speech showed he has no interest in unity with MAGA, but it seems hypocritical. I mean, how long has Joe Biden, how long is those songs? Forgiato Blow and Los Alexander. I like the one by Los Alexander, by the way. It's got a good beat, even though it's criticizing the hell out of the commander-in-chief. How long have those songs been out now? Over a year? One of them even took over Adele and went number one on the charts. That was Los Alexander's song. He's an African-American, I think, and Forgiato Blow's a white guy. But regardless, how can you expect Biden or criticize Biden for not unifying with a group whose primary theme is FJB? I thought we were the fuck your feelings crowd. All of a sudden, the man get up there and he says some negative shit about MAGA, and people are somehow in their feelings. I thought we were not in favor. I thought we weren't against that. Let me go to Mac69. We're gonna just say I can't pronounce the name, but Mac.
It's Mac.
Good afternoon.
And I'm a girl.
Mac. a girl named Mac. That's strong. Okay,
it's my Scottish surname. My dad's name. Mac3. My name
Fair
is
enough.
actually
Good to have you on the program. Okay, we can call whatever you want. We can accommodate you here. What's on your mind this afternoon, though, Matt?
Well, I'm kind of reading what's said in the comments about how Democrats are divisive, and everybody's complaining about the really mild, considering speech that Biden gave over the weekend, and how he's so divisive. And I don't quite remember it that way. I remember everybody being shocked.
You're talking about the speech. You're talking about the speech where it's got a red background and all of that. You found that to be mild?
Well, I mean, the building behind him was red.
Well, the lighting. But you found that speech to be mild
compared to Trump?
I mean, he was essentially saying MAGA is destroying the country.
Right, it is destroying the country. That
ain't mild. You may think it's true, but that's not a mild claim.
Compared to Trump, yeah.
Okay, give me some of Trump's greatest hits. Give me some of Trump's greatest hits. Give me some of the worst thing you think Trump said.
Calling the press let's start off with Mexican people who were coming over, rapists and murderers, drug dealers. That's a good start. Saying that Mexico was going to pay for the wall. Talking about punching protesters. That the press is the enemy of the people.
Enemy of the people, yeah. Okay, all right. I mean, I don't think saying
mistrust. And then of course,
saying Mexico is going to pay for the wall. I don't think I get your point on all the other stuff, but saying Mexico is going to pay for the wall, I don't think that is really divisive. But the rest of that stuff, I can concur with you on. So, do you believe that Trump is above the law? You think he's going to face any type of actual punishment for all of these different cases that are orbiting around him?
Oh no, I think he's running scared. I think he's really running scared. But he's punching back, and he's going to punch back 3 times harder than Biden will, because Biden's trying to maintain some sort of decorum in all of this. But he had enough, because this is dangerous for our country. By sowing seeds that our election process is not stable, it's going to take years and years to fix that. Where people can easily believe now when they vote whether or not their vote will count.
But you think that Trump is quote unquote, and by the way, folks, tap the screen, get your boy likes up to 10,000. Always good content, always a pleasure. But you really think that Trump is quote unquote running scared? This guy's holding rallies, bragging about getting rid of folks like Liz Cheney and things like that. You think he's running scared?
Yeah, I think he is. Because they just found all these documents at his resort, and empty folders, and now we know that some of those documents that he had held the nuclear secrets of other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled that Nelson with the judge.
In my opinion, I think that Trump is so egotistical and cocky. I don't think he's running scared, because even right now with all these cases, I strongly believe he has the power to make all of this stuff go away with one single phone call. If he got on the phone and talked to the right person and said, I'm willing to step out of politics completely if you guys just leave me the hell alone, I think most of this would go away. I do believe that the strongest goal, the priority of all of this is to get him to the point where he is no longer the opposition. If he was to step out and say, listen, I'm tired of this shit, which is one of my favorite callers, by the way, tired of this shit, I think he would be like, I think that the Biden administration, the federal government at least, would be like, leave him alone. Now, that's not to say what he's dealing with in Georgia and New York would go away, because those are state issues, but federally, I think he could make it in with one phone call.
You know what? If he were to do that, I would actually be happy with that, as long as he got out of the public eye and shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
But
all you have to do is
do something like that. Would his ego allow him to do something like that? I mean, he's a narcissist.
Well, if you could get his lawyers to convince him that, listen, they are about to get you, or maybe if they could ultimately tie his children or something, and some of them were facing incarceration or something like that. He's not an easy person to advise or to get to. I'm sure he was told hundreds of times that your tweets are not in the best interest of your 2020 campaign. And he continued doing it. So I don't know who advises him, but they clearly are a failure.
Well, nobody can really advise him. Like everybody who's written a book or had an interview, since he left the White House, has come right out and said that. And the things that have been right out in the open that his cult doesn't see, like when he called Georgia, I
need 11,000 votes. Yeah, you're talking about I need 11,000 votes.
Yeah, right there on a phone call, we can hear it. Or when he spoke to Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, and that was
holding
so clear.
Up money.
And they twisted it, and Mueller left a map of how to prosecute him after he left the presidency, and everybody's ignoring it.
Yeah, my guess is when you look at people like Mueller, like you're talking about, and even folks like Comey, if they could go back in time, I think they would have altered their actions. I think James Comey, if he could go back in time, he probably would not have investigated Hillary Clinton or announced that right before the election. And I think that they probably would have went after Trump stronger, because he's done nothing but ridicule those guys ever since winning that. So, I mean, he's a very lucky man. That's the best way I can put it. He's a very fortunate guy.
Trump?
Yeah. I mean, who else can say they beaten cases like that?
And I'm a hateful DNC operative. No, I'm just a woman on disability with a PhD in history. How am I hateful? This is the things that blow my mind. A hateful DNC operative? I don't even know what that is.
You are a hateful DNC. Let me. It's interesting you would say that in the comments, because I got a few viewers that consistently claims that I'm part of the feds, that I'm a federal agent talking to them. I guess trying to infiltrate the other side or some shit like that. I get called a fed more than Vlad TV. I don't get it, but it is what it is. But listen, I gotta move it on back. I'll give you the last word. I do gotta move it on though.
Oh man, I don't even think I have a last word after reading that.
Well, listen, it's a pleasure talking to you for the first time. It's good talking to you. Go ahead.
Does anybody want a kitten?
I gotta go. Good talk.
All right. Thank you.
Anytime, man. Come on back through. All right, look it in the comments. They got nothing. Jersey girl. Well, how hard would it be for Trump to just present evidence that the documents were declassified? I mean, if they got nothing, make it a little bit more clear of that. Trump is not lucky. He is showing everybody how corrupt our democracy in our country is. You know, is that I guess to some degree I would have to ask, is that a good thing for the country? If we're corrupt, you obviously want to know that. But he's made it so that if you're MAGA, you don't trust anybody. You know I got nothing but love for MAGA. That's my preferred audience. But I talk to MAGA all day, every day. And you don't trust the feds. You don't trust the media. Obviously, you didn't trust the Capitol Police. There is not a single Republican that has spoken foul of Trump that you trust. How can our country run based on the trust of one guy? Mitch McConnell leads the Senate. You don't trust him. Most of the folks that are in Congress or in the Senate, you don't trust them because they're lifelong politicians on the take. I understand the goal is to expose corruption. But damn it, every single person in Washington can't be corrupt. You can't run a country when you don't trust anyone. I'm telling you, a lot of the MAGA folks, you sound like Black Lives Matter. They don't trust the government. They claim they don't get due process. They're claiming that blacks are being railroaded and people are trying to get rid of them just for the sake of doing it. I might as well send all of my MAGA folks Black Lives Matter flags with a damn pick and a fist on it. You sound exactly like them. Shout out to Al Sharpton looking like a white man. Going back to the box. Bruce 02. I believe this is a new caller. Let's make it happen, Bruce. I see you in there. Bruce, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, what is the country trying to railroad the former commander-in-chief, or is he actually guilty of some real shit?
I don't believe he's being railroaded. These MAGA Republicans got to start thinking independently because, for one thing, I had, I was a troubled child, and I used to always be like, it was them, the teachers, and after a while, my mother started looking like everybody can't be after you. You know what I mean? There is so many things that Trump has been accused of, and it's not like say he's been exonerated. They say he's been exonerated, and he never been tried on his first trial. They didn't even look at Bill. It just came out that Bill Barr didn't even look at the Mueller report. Comey ignored a lot of things. There are things that happen, like his first impeachment hearing, they didn't bring to a trial. And then the second impeachment hearing, they just ignored the evidence and said that he was guilty and he shouldn't have done what he done, but it served no good to convict him because he's leaving office. And if
I've said the same thing when folks say that he beat the impeachments. I'm like, no, they just didn't investigate that shit properly. They ended up having Republicans on the Senate, and they just kind of threw it away. I agree with that.
It's like the old saying, it's not a crime if you don't get caught. They have not looked at the evidence. I don't know if he's guilty of what they're charging him with now, but he has no answers to the things that's been happening. You know what I mean? Like the government comes out with a report saying that they were trying to get this information from him for over a year and a half now. And then his people says, "Oh, you have all the documents," and then they get an informant saying that there's more top secret information at his house or his Mar-a-Lago, and then they go in there and he has more.
Yeah.
And then
Shout out to that informant. That informant is truly risking his or her life. Whoever that person is, they got to be scared as hell.
And then if you just remember the things that were said by his camp, like when they first come out, first they said he didn't have anything, any documents. That's a lie. And then he says, well, the FBI planted it. That turns out to be a lie. And then he says, well, I declassified everything. So it's okay that I had these, and then if he declassified them, my dad used to work for NASA up in Ohio. Okay. And there's like there's security clearances that he has to go. There's still things he won't talk about. What did he do? He just, I know he worked it, but he will not tell me at this point. He's retired. I don't know. He won't tell you. But the thing is, Trump is so arrogant. He took these documents and had them in an insecure place and did all these things, and we don't know what happened, but they still believe him, and they think Hillary was bad for that server, but there's nothing that this man can do in the wrong frame of mind or whatever, and all goes back to the cult behavior. I read.
So you actually do see cult-like behavior from Trump supporters.
If you look up the definitions of cognitive dissonance and then cognitive consonance is where you back up the wrong feelings and thoughts that you already have, and there's no way that you can see yourself being wrong because people want to be right. I know what I'm talking about. Just like they tell you all the time, I go on a lot of these lives. They do your research. Research means nothing if it comes from a
biased
terrible
source.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you got water, and we seen this now. If you got plenty of water around you and it's poison, it does you no good.
Yeah.
People are being flooded with wrong information.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Finger said, you all were for Trump when he was a Democrat. Well, you all were for Cheney when she was voting with Trump. I mean, people change their minds. I mean, but
you know what's another thing they say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
sure,
another thing they say, like, all you black people love Trump in the 80s, the rappers sung song. Hold up a second. If you know black people that was in New York, they didn't love Trump. If you know anything about his history, they didn't love Trump. And just because a rapper sang his name in a song didn't mean people love him. They loved his money and what he represented. But I never had no great feelings about Trump. And then when you dig into his history, I never liked him, man. He was an ignorant, arrogant. Like even there was one thing. He went for bankruptcy. He tells a story or his daughter says this story about him going through one of his bankruptcies and being a little girl, and he walks past a homeless man. That man has more money than I have at this certain time. He is ignorant and arrogant. He is the worst president ever. They'll tell you, well, look at all this stuff he did for black people. He did nothing for black people. He did something. He held a carrot. By doing the thing for the HBCUs, and then everything he does, he rips away at like he didn't stand for innocent people getting killed. He didn't stand for Jewish people in Charlottesville. He's the number one divider in the country. Like you were talking about earlier, how them questioning Obama's legitimacy as president.
His place of birth.
Yes, that is divisive right there.
Yeah, that's
and they'll say Obama did it, but all this hate and vitriol coming from the right is what separates our country. And then for me to question it, I'm playing a race card. No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way. Yeah, there's unfortunately no way around it. But listen, Bruce, I do got to move it on, man.
I appreciate you talking with me.
Is this our first time talking?
No, I've been on here a couple times.
Okay. All right. Maybe get a different name or something.
No, it's just me. Same me.
Oh, it's just me getting old.
One account. I like your show though, and I like tuning in. Enjoy
Much love. Appreciate the compliment. Looking in the comments real quick. Tony Green said, "Bro, you ever talk with Lumberjacked Up?" Yes, if I'm correct, that is an African American MAGA supporter guy. He always has the hat on. He runs a different show. I've gotten on his lives and tried to communicate. And unfortunately, when you got multiple boxes up there, people talk all over each other, which is why you'll never see more than one box on this show. I like to give my callers my undivided attention. Where some lives you get on there and the host is just kind of sitting there eating a hamburger while everybody is kind of running the show. You don't really get that here. I try to give you my undivided attention. Well, and you don't have to agree with me or not. That's another thing, is that you're never going to get banned or blocked on this program because you and I vehemently disagree. And I don't shorten your time for it either. I am a huge proponent of First Amendment rights, your free speech rights, so you are always going to be able to speak your opinion. You see my name, and I make it clear my preferred audience is MAGA. So obviously you're going to have a lot of passionate topics come up. Going back to the box, but yeah, I've talked to that gentleman a few times, if I'm correct, and I think that's where the entire he has snacks on this program. If you look at my lives, just to defend my point that I'm a big, huge proponent of First Amendment rights. If you look on my lives, my very first video out of all my videos on my profile is the video of me trying to communicate on one of those programs and having someone, a host, curse me out. Curse me completely out. You'll hear it on there. Tune into it. It's a fun listen. All right, looking in the comments. Dana, do I like MAGA? I absolutely adore hearing opinions from the other side. I love MAGA. I don't think they get a lot of fairness when it comes to the media, which is why I enjoy talking to them. I don't like anyone having their First Amendment rights trampled on. And I know the more I've talked to MAGA, the more I've started getting banned. So, yeah, I think that's bullshit. So, here you are. I welcome them coming in here. Fast Pass. 3. Appreciate that. Pop Stove. Appreciate the crown. Shout out from your boy. Fast Pass. Good afternoon.
Hey, there's you some likes, man. Right there. How you been?
I'm been good. Been good.
Hey, how's it going? I want to back up on a couple comments because,
sure.
It's funny because mentioning that, not trusting anybody in government or blasting certain people, the FBI. I remember the 2016 election. If you've ever been to Vegas and watched a football game at a sports bar at a gambling place, it looks like every play is like a bunch of people jump up like prairie dogging. It depends on which team you're betting for. So 2016 was the same thing. Every word out of Comey's mouth caused a bunch of prairie dogging, and all of a sudden Comey was the best thing since sliced bread. And then he was the devil's own handmaid,
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It depended on what decisions were coming out on the level of trust that either side had for the government. So the hypocrisy sometimes is real palpable when we talk about how government, people trust them depending on how their best interests are served by the decisions that are made. And that's a lot of people are really, are kind of hypocritical about that. And, to go back in history, I was around when Carter was president. Okay. And at least what I don't like and cultish behavior, it can go both ways. This obsession with Trump, man, is cultish. Because listen, all that the left talks about is Trump. They don't see anything Biden done is wrong. Not even that whenever he left 13 dead Americans over there and didn't say a word on the year anniversary, not one word. 600,000 rifles, 2,000 armored vehicles, 40 aircrafts, including Black Hawk helicopters. So he left, nobody seems to remember some of the shit that he's really screwed up. And I don't care about Trump as a man. I don't care about him, what his policies were. And these people say, oh, he's stupid, he's dumb. Well, I want some of that
Hold on a second. Here's where I don't get. Now, folks always say, I don't care about Trump as a man, like you said, or with the Stormy Daniels shit, I don't care about his personal life and things like that. Where was that at when folks were criticizing Obama for the church he went to? All of a sudden, now Trump gets caught in all this shit. Well, I don't care about what he does in his personal life. When did that start? Because I remember
Jeremy Wright got up and said, "God damn America." That's pretty inflammatory.
That's church. That's his church. I mean,
still inflammatory.
But you're going to hold Obama. You're going to hold him accountable for what his pastor says. That means we should be able to bring up all of the right wingers all of the racist stuff that is said and done at Trump rallies. You want to take credit for all of that?
That was, look, Trump is done a lot of stupid shit, and he's done a lot of stupid stuff, and I call him out on that stupid shit. I told you before, and I've said I don't want him to get the nomination, but I do believe in more conservative principles than liberal ones.
Okay.
So, but the obsession that is on Trump right now, and I do not believe if he picked up the phone and said he wasn't running that it would go away. That's not going to happen. The hate for this man is so deep. I think he ought to get up and
That
do,
ain't what I mean.
because
Wait a
nobody
minute.
believes anybody. I think
That's
he ought
not
to
what
say,
I
I'm not
mean.
running.
Wait a minute.
Then,
Okay,
and
I'm
then
not.
run.
Wait. Let me say what I'm saying. Okay, when I say it's going to go away, I don't mean the hate. The hate for Hillary Clinton has not gone away either. However, she's not being investigated criminally. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, people are going to hate Trump until he dies, and then some. But they're not going to go after him criminally if he picks up the phone.
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. Some people have already crossed the Rubicon with that, man. I'm sorry. I think they have. I don't know that that they're going to let up. They got a bulldog grip on him, and they don't want to let up. I think he ought to go ahead and say he's not going to run, and then screw it. Say he changed his mind and run anyway.
Well, that ain't gonna work. They would have him. They would have him. He would have to sign something. I'm sure they would make him.
Nobody believes politicians anyway. I hope not. Not too much. Not too much, because
Trump is not a typical politician. We didn't get him in there to remember. He was supposed to drain the swamp, not become a swamp member.
Well, part of what he was doing by cutting federal employees created a lot of enemies. Now we've got what? I don't know, 18 million state and federal workers right now. That's a pretty large percentage. And that's not, I mean, the more and more you get, that job security, you want somebody that's going to have a bigger government, because that's your job. And I've brought this up before. It's survival. It's one of the basic tenets of human beings. They want to survive. So I don't know, man. I don't know what is going to happen. I know I'm more worried about 2 months than I'm worried about 2 years from now. This is what I'm more concerned with. And I think that if anybody knows that this man, I think Biden needs to be checked. And whether I think
Check him how?
By controlling the House, or at least one of the sections of Congress.
Okay, all right.
He needs to be checked.
Let me say this. I don't disagree with making sure we have proper checks and balances. However, I don't want him to be checked by election deniers. If you want to make sure that Biden cannot get to be too powerful and you cause him to lose the House or the Senate to do that, I think most Americans are fine with that. But I don't want you to check him with people that are going to start talking about we need to relitigate the 2020 election.
Don't go there, man, because there's I've put on 10 minutes of videos of election deniers from 2016. They got out and said that he's not a legitimate president. They stood in front of the White House and said he wasn't legitimate. They were wrong, but they're in government. But they're in government, and there are people that are saying that. So everybody's a little bit of a sore loser.
No.
Hillary had to be talked into even going. I know Trump didn't go to the inauguration, which was, I think, one of the worst things he should have gone.
Wait a minute.
He should have gone.
Here's the difference, though. When Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. If you skip forward to 2018, she was not still holding rallies all over the country talking about she won. Trump is still doing that. Hillary Clinton did not get involved in other political campaigns trying to put people in that suggested that she won. We just had Trump last week suggest that they need to put him back in office and relitigate the 2020 election. Hillary Clinton wasn't doing shit like that. She suggested that she won, but she didn't keep pushing it as hard as Trump has.
She still thinks she won. She still thinks she won. She still thinks she won.
Not. Al Gore still thinks he's won, but he's not behaving like Trump. Neither one of these people behave like Trump.
they're not running for president, but I don't know that, I mean, they had Trafalgar had him up by 400 electoral votes, and they got it wrong. Somehow they got it terribly wrong. Now, I'll say this, that the motivation behind the Democratic Party made the Republicans look like amateurs during the 2020 election. They were motivated. They got out the vote, and they're saying it came down to 18,000 votes. I don't know where people come up with that number, because I think it was more than that. And he did get how many more? 2-3 million more of the popular vote. But it wasn't the most safe and most secure election ever. It can't be, because it went for too long. I don't like that they're going around saying that. People going around saying it was the most safe and most secure election ever.
Here's what I despise. Here's what I absolutely despise about the claims that the election was not safe and secure. And I'm not here to say it was safe.
I said the most safe.
Not you. Hear me out. This is what I hate about this, is that Trump only performed an investigation in states that he lost. Are we going to believe that a smaller state like Wisconsin was corrupt as hell, but a huge state like Texas was run 100% accurately? Or do we not give a damn about Texas because he won there? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me give you a quick example. There's a chart that goes around talking about where the money went that Zuckerberg donated, right? The $300 and something million that he donated. Well, there's a chart that goes out there.
Okay.
Hardly any of that money at all was spent in the state of Tennessee. It was supposed to help people that were rural get out to vote. They had to drive 30 minutes, that couldn't get to vote. None of that money. It's like a blank slate in the state of Tennessee. But when you go up into Philadelphia, you go down into Georgia, you go into Arizona, and you go into Ohio and Michigan, which are swing, and Wisconsin, which are swing states, the ratio was quite a bit different on the money that was spent. So I don't know that the laws, were changed because of being able to, put money.
Yeah, but I go back to
out there.
Okay. Here's the reason I have a problem. Even if every single thing you're saying is true, nobody investigated where Republican money went to in Chicago. If you only investigate one side, all of your issues are going to pertain to that side. Which is why I said they didn't check if Texas was ran properly. They didn't check where the Republican money in Texas went. They weren't concerned with it. He won. Same thing with Florida. If you start digging into all 50 states, I guarantee you will find at least some fraud in every single state. There's no way you're going to have millions of people voting and 100% of it is honest.
I didn't say it was fraud. I didn't say it was fraud.
Whatever you call it, improprieties, whatever you're calling it, it happened in all 50 states is the point I'm making. People cheat and do stuff in every single state. When you only investigate the states that you won in, it makes it look like you're not concerned with, or the states that you lost. It makes it look like you're not really concerned with if the election was fair. You're just trying to win. Like the state of Montana.
It happens now. People don't campaign in states that they know they're not going to win. They didn't spend a lot in California because they knew California was going to go Democratic. My point is, this was money that was given to a nonpartisan group that's supposed to help people get out there and vote. But it seems like they help people get out and vote in swing states, and they did it in in urban areas, not necessarily in rural areas. Now, that's something you might not have investigated, but you can look at it more detail. And whenever people show that chart about how all these states got a percentage and what Trump won and what Trump didn't win, the money wasn't helping people get out in states that they knew they were going to lose, or they knew they were going to win anyway. So that thing with Zuckerberg was
that doesn't mean there's cheating, but that doesn't mean there's. If you want to question where money went, I mean, Trump raised $250 million for Stop the Steal. Where did the money go? Where did the money go? Obviously, he didn't get the election back. Where did the 200? I mean, you could ask that with every politician.
I don't know. Lindell spent $35 million of his own money, so I don't know. They say that he spent $35 million of his own money. I tell you what, if Lindell, I think he cost us the election more than anybody else. I got sick of seeing those commercials. I got so sick of seeing My Pillow commercials. I said, they got to get that guy off of here, or we're going to lose the election. But anyway,
did you watch his cyber symposium?
No, but there's one that came. Oh no, I've read about it. I've read a lot about it.
I watched it.
Colorado.
I watched all 3 days of that. I watched all 3 days of that.
I think I'm going to watch it, but I watched part of it where he was sitting at the table talking about how the votes went out to China and they came back. And the girl, Tina Peters, who got arrested in Colorado, you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
Tina Peters. And she, I'm familiar with that, but that thing came out last month called Selection Code, I think is the name of it. Selection Code, like the S is in parentheses. Yeah, I'm going to watch that. But, like I said, I don't, buy into this cult shit. I don't buy into it any more than I buy into this cult shit about how people are so obsessed about Trump. And I don't completely buy in that the man was putting himself in great danger by coming out and saying that the guy who told on Trump or the informant any more than I think the people in the FBI are in more danger. I worry about them, the ones that are the whistleblowers.
I think the
FBI.
Yeah, I think the FBI ultimately be fine. But Fast Pass, I gotta move it on, man. Appreciate you coming through. Good talk.
Bye.
Good talk. And that's all I was telling the gentleman is that I think it would have helped Trump's case in regards to the 2020 election if he did not just simply investigate areas where he lost. Because, like he mentioned, the arrest in Colorado. Well, you're not hearing this a lot on right-wing networks, but it appears that tampering with voting machines happened on the same day that Trump's attorney, Sidney Powell, visited some polling offices. One of the polling offices in Georgia was in a heavily Republican district. The last place you would think there would be any cheating in favor of the Democrats. Trump won the area about like 70% or something like that. Not even a close race. Yet, Trump's attorney and two other folks went into the polling office, had access to the machines, and they found one of the machines was tampered with. You're not going to hear that at all on right-wing circles. If they give that any lip service at all, it'll be 2 seconds. You're going to hear more about the cyber ninjas and what he was talking about in Colorado. But this happened in multiple places where these same people, Trump's attorney, Sidney Powell, that she is an election denier, and she also spoke to the crowd on January 6th. That same woman went to multiple polling offices, and they've been able to prove that she was there on the same day that machines were tampered with. What were the Republicans alleging that ultimately led to a lot of cheating? The machines were tampered with. Is it possible that they were the arsonists setting fires, hoping that the fire department would come and find the fires they were reporting? You don't hear that on right-wing circles, but that is absolutely in the news right now. So I just want to point that out. Going back to the box. Crazy Mother Runner. That's a unique name. Crazy. Good afternoon. If it lets you in, keep praising Biden and Democrats. Wrongful living hell, God still alive. Wait a minute. What the hell? Thomas, Vision. You frequent viewer of the program. See you in the comments. It says, keep praising Biden and Democrats. Wrongful living hell, God still alive. First of all, most of the Christianity is coming from the Republican side of the house. So you're not going to get a hell of a lot of Democrats praising Biden. Certainly not drawing artwork with a picture of Jesus Christ putting his hand on Biden's shoulder. That's coming from the Trump side. I've had callers on here suggest that Trump was chosen by the Messiah. But you're talking about praising Biden? Really? Wrongful living hell, God is still alive. Biden is the one that's living wrong. Trump has been divorced how many times? Melania Trump, in an interview with Barbara Walters, when Barbara Walters asked, how did you meet your husband? Barbara Walters stated he was on a date with another woman, snuck away from that woman and asked me for my number, which I was hesitant to give. I guess the $10 billion got her to scratching down numbers. Like I said, don't lie on your dick. But you're talking about Biden supporters praising Biden. Okay. All right. Listen, folks. As always, I appreciate you guys rolling with your boy. I am on lunch break, so I do unfortunately have to end the live 7 p.m. How did Biden meet his wife? That's a good question. I don't know. How long has Joe Biden been with her? They've been together for a long fucking time. I don't know. Are you suggesting they met similar to how maybe John McCain met his wife cheating years ago with I think there's something about the babysitter or some shit. It's a long time ago. I don't know. But I know Trump's activities with women are horrible. How many NDAs he had in addition to whatever the hell her name was, the porn star. So you're talking about living in sin and you're pointing out Biden excluding Trump from the conversation. Stormy Daniels, excluding all of that. Stormy Daniels knew the inside of their crib. I mean, you didn't just sleep with a porn star. She's on TV describing what it looks like on the inside of your house and how you and your wife don't even sleep in the same room together. How does she know all of that? How the hell did she know all that when you said you never even met her and don't even know who she is? And she describing the inside of your crib. How? I gotta go. Appreciate you guys rolling with me. I'm out.